After suffering a 4-game losing streak and not playing anywhere like themselves as of late, the Detroit Pistons respond with a very strong performance against the Brooklyn Nets and remind us how they got to where they got this year.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. I've been hosting this podcast and covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years for the Locked On Network, Bank Redemption Media member over the last 3 years. And I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Later on, we will discuss, can Marcus Sasser build upon this strong performance he had tonight against the Brooklyn Nets? And then also later on, we will look ahead at the Pistons schedule where I will give a prediction on how they will do over the next few weeks. But we're going to start with how Detroit played in this game against the Brooklyn Nets. Actually, before we do that, I do have to remind you guys, as usual, that Tuesdays and Thursdays, we record a live show with Lindsey Hunter, the Locked On Pistons Squad Show. You'll see it on the podcast feeds, and you'll also see it on the Locked On YouTube channel. If you have not seen it yet, make sure you guys go check it out. But if you guys want to ask him some live questions and be there for the live recording, just go to the YouTube channel every Tuesday and Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and you guys will be able to get those questions. And then, all right, let's talk about this game now. And no, I'm not. Some of you guys may be wondering, are you going to mention and talk about Bam scoring 83 points? No, I'm not going to. That was some of the most insane. Those last 3 minutes were some of the most unethical things I've ever seen in my life. The Pistons blow out the Brooklyn Nets 138-100, and this is exactly what I wanted to see from the Detroit Pistons. They lost a game in which they shouldn't have lost to the Brooklyn Nets. They got stomped by the Miami Heat a few days ago. They should not have been stomped by Miami like that. They lost 2 games before that. They had been on a 4-game losing streak. They had been 5-5 in their last 10 games. They had seen their defense fall over the last 10 games. They had seen their offense fall badly over the last 10 games. And they had a lot of people questioning them. They had a lot of people questioning the success that they've had this year and whether that was real and whether they were finally showing why they were skeptical of the Pistons all year long. That was everything that was going on within the last 48 hours. It was going a little bit after the Nets lost on Saturday, but then after the Sunday loss to Miami. I mean, the last 48 hours has been nonstop Pistons are frauds talk from a lot of your national media people. And I'm not here to suggest that beating a Brooklyn Nets team is silencing that or some big statement like, yeah, we're real. Take us, like, nowhere near suggesting that. What I am suggesting is a team that is as good as we believe the Detroit Pistons are and play with as much pride as we believe they do. You would think that they would come out now against this team, Brooklyn Nets, that just beat them, that is a tanking team and not trying to win. They would come out here and make it clear that, hey, we let our guard down Saturday after being up big. We're going to make sure everyone knows and make sure Brooklyn knows as well. Hey, we're here and we're not messing around no more. We heard all the criticism, we heard all the doubts, we heard everyone laughing. We heard all of it over a little mini streak we had. Okay, whatever. Let's get back to what we do. Let's handle things from the get-go. Let's dominate them and make sure it not at one point in this game will it be close. Just completely dominate them the entirety of the game to where we don't even have to play any of our meaningful players the last 15 minutes of this game. And that's exactly what happened here. The Pistons absolutely destroyed the Brooklyn Nets. It got to a point where I actually was starting to feel bad for Brooklyn a little bit because it felt like a varsity team playing against a freshman team. Like they were incapable of dribbling the ball up the floor sometimes. Like the Pistons were just being suffocating with their defense. They were very much giving 100% effort on everything. They wanted to make sure Brooklyn knew, and they wanted to go ahead and put out a statement win that what happened this past week has been fluky. We're just going to shut all that up here. And they absolutely did. They shot 16 of 32 from 3, 50%, probably their best mark of the season, to be honest. They shot 56% from the floor. They had 10 offensive rebounds, out-rebounded Brooklyn. They had 12 steals to Brooklyn's 3. Brooklyn had 19 turnovers. The Pistons scored 29 points off of turnovers. They scored 26 second chance points. They scored 26 fast break points. And the Pistons' largest lead at one point was 43. And to back up what I said earlier, the Brooklyn Nets did not lead for a single point in this game. The Pistons led for 47 minutes and 44 seconds in this game. This was not a, oh, look, we beat Brooklyn, give us respect, blah, blah. That wasn't what this was. This was a, we're done playing around. We need to get back to how we're doing it. And we're going to start by absolutely destroying this team that's not even close to our level at all. We're just going to obliterate them, and they did that. Jalen Duren had a strong game, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He just killed them inside. He was 9 of 10 from the floor. Cade started off this game 8 of 8. He finished with 21 and 15 assists on 8 of 10 shooting. He didn't have to play the last 15 minutes or the last, I think he came out the last 15 minutes of this game. Neither did Jalen Duren. One thing to point out that I really liked with Cade's game, I don't really want to get too, really get too in deep with like the X's and O's and anything that happened in this game because they played Brooklyn. They should do this to Brooklyn. There's not like a ton I want to pull away from this game because Brooklyn's tanking and they're not good at all, and this is how it should look. But if I am to like look at anything, I very much like the shots Cade took tonight. We talked about in the last episode. Out of his first 8 shots, he had 4 threes taken. He was 3 of 4. The rest, he had the other 3 shots were all at the rim in the paint, creating looks at the rim, and then he had 1 mid-range jump shot that he was able to create for himself. He was making sure every single shot either came at the rim, got an easy look for him there, or anytime they backed off him, or anytime he had a clean look from 3, he was taking it. And that's what I'd love to see for Cade moving forward. Obviously, again, he's not going to play the Brooklyn Nets every single game, and I'm not suggesting he hasn't really done a good job for the most part this year with that. But after we just talked about maybe his shot selection not being the greatest over this 10-game stretch and why he's seen his efficiency drop the last 10 games, it was just cool to see him really create good shot after good shot after good shot for himself throughout the entire night. So Cade was fantastic, dominant, and the Pistons had a really good shooting night. There's not much else to really get into with this game. They came out with a mission. They heard everything. They wanted to let everyone know what's up. They wanted to silence Brooklyn, really destroy them after coming to Detroit and beating them on Saturday, and they did that. Outside of that, we'll talk a little bit about Marcus Sasser because I think that's something that you can talk about from this game that matters. But outside of that, that's all that needs to be said about this game. They came out. They looked like the 1 seed. No messing around. No playing with their food. They destroyed and dominated the Nets from the get-go, as they should have on Saturday, even without Cade. But with Cade this time, they made sure not to play with their food at all. And they took Brooklyn serious like they were a great team. And that's how you end up with a 43-point lead. Coming up, can Marcus Sasser build upon this performance and get himself into the rotation? We'll talk about it and break it down coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, the one position you have yet to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need to hit the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your name or your job, the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Then I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors. This one is 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft, and mine is 100% going to be every single time strawberry banana. I love strawberry banana flavor. I have strawberry banana smoothies all the time. It's my favorite. A tropical delight with strawberry, a taste that goes in everything from smoothies, like I mentioned, and milkshakes to cakes and ice cream. Strawberry banana, by far, my number one pick. But like I said earlier, they have 18 new different flavors that you can choose from. Cotton candy, fruity rainbow, cherry, grape, berry, sour apple, Hawaiian breeze, peach mango, tropical burst. They have so many different flavors that you can choose from. So what would be your number one pick in the 5-Hour Energy flavor draft? Mine is strawberry banana. Go check it out. 5-Hour Energy at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Again, you can find your new flavor, your new favorite flavor, of 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Again, 5hourenergy.com or Amazon to find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots. So I want to thank you guys again. Make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. We're going to talk about Marcus Sasser here, who had an incredible game, and hopefully he can build upon this, and how that, how impactful could that be? How could he fit himself into the rotation? But I guess before we talk about just Marcus, I said there wasn't much else to take from the game, and really I mostly agree with or believe that. But I guess I should just shout out that maybe just having this type of game and having everyone play as well as they did. I mean, Duncan was 6 of 6 from the floor. He hit 3 threes in this game. Daniss, he was 14 and 6 in this game. So maybe Daniss can get it turned around because he got to see the ball go in there, got to play well. And now this can string along some good performances. Same thing with Duncan. Duncan got to see the ball start falling through the net. Now he goes back to shooting a really high percentage of some high volume looks from beyond the arc. I mean, Ron had 16 points in this game. He didn't shoot well from beyond the arc, but on twos, he was 4 of 7, got to the free throw line 6 times. And I thought Ron was pretty good in this game. So, maybe Duncan and Daniss and Ron and Javante, who also played well. Paul Reed even got to play, and he played well at the end of this game. Kevin Huerter got to have a stretch. So maybe they can use this game, all of those guys can use this game as a launching pad to, okay, we got to play well, we got to get a huge win here, win by 38, and maybe now their confidence is back to peak levels, and they can start playing like this moving forward. That is the hope. But Marcus Sasser, I think he's probably, outside of Cade and Duren, I think he's the most interesting person to talk about from this game against the Brooklyn Nets, because, like I mentioned in the first segment, because they are the Nets, there's not much you really want to try to pull away from for the Pistons. But Sasser had 14 points in this game. He was 5 of 7 from the floor. He hit 4 or 5 threes. He was incredibly aggressive. He was hitting catch-and-shoot threes. He was hitting step-back threes. He was very, very aggressive against the Brooklyn Nets. And Sasser is a guy that we have talked about a lot on the podcast. Much earlier in the season, I would say we talked a lot about him, especially in the offseason, about what's his role going to be for this team this year. Is he finally going to crack the rotation? And up until this point, he has not cracked the rotation. He had not been able to get consistent minutes with JB Bickerstaff and the Detroit Pistons this year. And he's going into, year 4 now, and he's been fighting to be a rotation player for a while. And we know that he has some of this talent in him. But before this game, when we talked about it, as recently as last episode, I believe, is that Sasser, while it's been unfair to him, I think, it's unfair to really every NBA player when this is your reality. But this is the reality for a lot of NBA players, that when you are an end-of-bench guy or a guy outside of a rotation, when you get your chance to play, you have to play well with that chance. And I understand it's very hard. I completely get it. It's hard to sit for a long time, multiple games, 15 games. It's hard to sit for a while and then randomly get your chance, and you have 5 minutes to get in there and hit some shots, to play well, to earn the next 10 minutes the next game, and then have the 10 minutes turn to 15 minutes the next game. I understand that that is a very hard thing to do. But that's the reality for a lot of NBA players, and those who have taken advantage of it have been able to carve themselves out roles for said team. And unfortunately for Sasser, again, something we've talked about, is ever since the end of December, when he had those back-to-back great games against the Lakers in Miami, if you just do before this game, so the previous 16 games that he got to play, 47 true shooting, 31% from deep, 41% on twos. So And I understand that these games are not, like I said earlier, he's not playing 15 minutes. He's not getting a run to where he can miss a shot and still keep it going and get another chance after that, or miss a few shots and keep playing. He didn't get that opportunity. But because of that, that has taken away a lot of the opportunities he could have had. And it's taken away the possibility of JB Bickerstaff turning to him as part of a rotation change, maybe giving some minutes from Karis LeVert to Marcus Sasser, maybe giving some Javonte Green minutes to Marcus Sasser, whatever it is, because he wasn't able to fully take advantage of the minimal spots he got during that stretch. It felt like he kind of had been tossed to the side, especially with Daniss getting the roster full roster contract, and JB talking about how he wants to rely upon Karis LeVert. There was really no pressure to have to play Sasser because he wasn't forcing the issue. Now, these last 3 games, since Ausar got hurt, Sasser has gotten his chance. He has been a starter in each of these games, last 3 games, and he's played over 20 minutes, or played 20 minutes against Miami, exactly. But the other 2 games played over 20 minutes, so he got a decent stretch. He got to get shots up. And how did he play? I think he had 2 uneven games against Brooklyn and Miami. Now, I understand, against Brooklyn, he did twist his ankle at the end of the second quarter, so maybe that affected him the rest of that game. Miami was bad for quite literally everyone, and he was part of that. So 2 uneven performances. But then here against Brooklyn, he played fantastic. He was hitting his shots. He was aggressive. He was showing how his gravity off of Cade can help space the floor for him at times. He was showing how he's able to attack gaps as well. He was showing how he's able to create for himself a little bit off the bounce and create easy shots for himself, something that maybe the team could utilize, someone else that is just able to create shots for themselves and generate more threes. I mean, we've talked about ad nauseum about how Duncan Robinson is relied upon to be the only volume shooter really for the Detroit Pistons. If Duncan Robinson doesn't hit 6, 7 threes in a game, the Pistons might not get to 10 threes made in a single game. And even for, I love old school basketball, screw the threes, even that's ridiculous, not being able to at least get to 10 threes made in a game. But that's the reality of the Pistons this year. Is whenever Duncan's not hitting shots, he's the only guy who's probably going to get up more than 3 threes, 4 threes, him and Cade maybe, in a game that Cade wants to shoot. So it's been so much of it has been relied upon Duncan. So he's had so much on his shoulders when it comes to carrying this team's 3-point gravity, volume, percentage. It's all been him. So if Marcus Sasser can prove to be that guy that, hey, I can get some threes up too. I'm someone that can generate some easier looks from beyond the arc and help that not just be something that if Duncan's having a bad game, you're just lost. You're just over with. You're going to lose a 3-point battle by a lot if Duncan's off. Sasser can be that guy. And I think he's going to get even more opportunity over the next 2 weeks because Ausar is going to be out a minute. We've yet to be told how long Ausar is going to be out. And until Ausar comes back, Marcus Sasser is going to start in his place, and he's going to get this type of run. If he can play like he did against Brooklyn, if he can just continue to shoot even just 37, 38% from beyond the arc and play this aggressive and be this effective off of Cade, I think that when Ausar comes back, then you're forcing JB. You're forcing JB to have to make a decision of, do we really take this player who's helping generate some offense, who's helping generate some open threes, who's helping us out in the 3-point department as a team? Do we just take him out the lineup and continue to play Karis and Daniss when Ausar gets back? Or does Sasser force his hand and be like, hey, he's played too well, I can't sit him, he's helping us. Sorry, insert X player, you got to come out the rotation. That's the hope for Sasser. That's what Sasser has to be able to do over this stretch. So this game, while it was great, he played tremendous. This one was against Brooklyn. Again, I can't put enough emphasis on how bad Brooklyn is. Brooklyn is arguably the worst team in the NBA. The fact the Pistons lost to them on Saturday is absolutely ridiculous. This team is terrible. So Sasser had a great game. You'd love to see it, but it is against the Nets. And like I was talking about earlier, we've seen Sasser have a great game followed up by multiple just inconsistent showings. That's the thing that we have to watch for with Sasser here. If Sasser can just be consistent, if he can just, it doesn't have to be 20 points every game. It doesn't even have to be 14 plus points every game. But if he can just be consistent in hitting shots when it's there for him, be consistent with his aggression, and be just consistently efficient over the next however long he gets these chances, then maybe we might be looking at a future where Marcus Sasser is a part of the rotation. And if that ends up happening, that would be a huge plus for the Detroit Pistons if he's able to do that, because they desperately need somebody else to not only hit some threes and score the basketball, but they desperately need some juice off the bench when it comes to shooting beyond the arc. If he's able to just be consistent with that, to where JB trusts him when Ausar gets back, that could end up being a silver lining for the Pistons getting into the playoffs from the Ausar injury. You get Ausar back fully healthy, and in the process of it, you were able to find somebody who maybe is able to contribute for you down the stretch, that maybe is able to contribute for you in the playoffs and hit some deep looks, and try to give you that versatility in the playoffs when it comes to lineups. So we'll see. Sasser is definitely the one I'm watching for during this stretch. He is the name. He is the guy that I take the most from this Brooklyn game. He is the one I'll be watching for the most moving forward. I think he could really swing how JB handles the rotation if he can play like this moving forward. I find it really hard to sit him if he plays like this for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, however long Ausar is out. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Do you guys think Marcus Sasser can play like this, and do you think he will crack the rotation and force JB's hand? Let me know, again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, we're going to look ahead at the Detroit Pistons schedule. Where I will make my prediction on how this team will look over the next few weeks. We'll break it down and talk about it coming up. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. If you pull up the Game Time app, you can pick an upcoming NBA game, and you'll have the tickets locked within minutes. You'll see all-in price up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and you'll also get to see the view from the seat before buying the tickets, so you know that those seats are for you. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. Then I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Quo. Spring is a natural reset point. If there's one thing that can quietly cost business money, is messy communication. Mixed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number, so you never miss a call, text, or opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread. Calls, texts, voicemails. The whole team sees the conversation, so nothing falls through the cracks. And the AI summaries save serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers with Quo. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. To wrap it up here, we're going to look ahead at the Pistons' next few games, where I want to make a prediction on how they'll do over the next few weeks. Their next game is in a few days against Philadelphia at home, who just recently had to rule out Tyrese Maxey for the next, I believe, 3 weeks at the very least is when he'll get reevaluated. So Tyrese is out for 3 weeks. Joel Embiid is going to continue to be out. Paul George is out. That team is not going to be anywhere near full strength, and even at full strength, they're not better than the Pistons. So the Pistons should be able to take care of business against Philly. I think this last 4 games was a wake-up call for them. I think it was what they needed to really wake it up, just stop trolling, stop messing around. They come out and handle business against Brooklyn. They should do the same against Philly. Next, after Philly, on the back end of back-to-back, at home still, though, didn't have to travel, you got Memphis, who, again, is a really, really bad team. They should take advantage of Memphis. So right there, that should be 3 games in a row for the Detroit Pistons. After that, they got Toronto in Toronto, but not, obviously, Toronto is close to Detroit. It's not a long travel. That's one. And two, the Pistons are much better than Toronto. They should be able to take care of Toronto. So that, for me, should be 4 straight wins. Then after Toronto, they got Washington back-to-back. And Washington just got done playing a game against Bam Adebayo and the Miami Heat, where the Miami Heat disrespected and thought so lowly of the Washington Wizards that they were intentionally fouling the Wizards, letting them make free throws just so they could get the ball back and let Bam get to 83, I believe. Yeah, 83, 84 points, whatever it was he did. He ended up breaking Kobe's record today. Straight up disrespected them. They were guarding Bam with 3-4 people, still couldn't guard him without fouling. They were still fouling him, despite him having 3-4 people on him. If you can't beat that Washington team, we need to talk. So they should destroy. They should destroy Washington in both of those games. So now we're at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at a 6-game win streak. After that, you got the Golden State Warriors on the 20th at Detroit. Golden State is terrible. The Steph-less Warriors are quite literally a horrific watch. One of the worst watches in the NBA. I cannot lie to you. Draymond acts like he's not an NBA player when Steph doesn't play, apparently. I don't know what's up. They should win that game easily, I think. That should not be a difficult game for the Detroit Pistons. So now, walking into March 23rd, they should be riding a 7-game win streak, I believe, here. And that would extend their lead on the first seed. I think a 7-game win streak, even if the opponents are very weak, I'm very aware. If the Pistons were to go on a 7-game win streak, even with the opponents being weak, a lot of that narrative nationally, a lot of the narrative that people are having with the Pistons would go silent again. People would start backtracking. People would see their record. People are going to start being quiet about, oh my God, are the Pistons going to fall? That would quiet the critics. That would quiet them down until the playoffs, if you could do that. But honestly, if you want to be real, the win streak could go any longer than that. Because then after Golden State, you got Los Angeles and Detroit. Los Angeles can't play any team and beat any team that is able to move more than 2 miles per hour when they run. If you have any type of athleticism and are able to just move side to side without struggling, you beat the Lakers. The Lakers are old, they're slow, they don't want to play defense, they're just a bad team anytime they play anyone that can move. They should destroy the Lakers. The Lakers are a terrible matchup, or Detroit is a terrible matchup for the Lakers. So I think the Pistons should go on an 8-game win streak. After that, they got Atlanta. Again, another bad team. A team I just don't think is good at all. So now we're at 9, right? We're at 9 straight wins. After that, you got New Orleans. That should be 10 games. New Orleans is trying to be good and sucks. That should be 9 games, or what? We're at 10 games now, right? We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we're at 10 games. The earliest game I think the Detroit Pistons should lose, the earliest game, should be March 28th against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They should be riding a 10-game win streak going into that game. That's what I think. And I'm aware that they don't have Ausar Thompson, and that Ausar Thompson has very much covered up a lot of the holes defensively. And I'm not going to let one night against Brooklyn make me think, oh, they're going to be great defensively without Ausar. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, there is no possible way that they are as bad defensively without Ausar like we saw the last week. There has to be a happy medium. There is no way that, and I'm the biggest fan of Ausar Thompson. There's no way that he is that impactful to where if he just doesn't play, you become just one of the worst defenses in the league. I refuse to believe that. And especially if you're going against teams that don't really have crazy offenses or guys you really have to worry about. I guess the Lakers is the one that has Luka and Austin Reeves and LeBron. So offensively, maybe they could give the Pistons fits. But even then, again, LA struggles with anybody who can move, that's athletic, even on the offensive end of the floor. When they're on offense, you play defense against them, physical, and you're athletic, you give them problems. They get mad, and they get upset, and then they don't get back on. The Lakers are not a good team. So out of all those teams I just mentioned, they're really the only ones of the 10-game win streak I think the Pistons should go on that has an offensive player or an offensive, just enough skill offensively to where they should be able to just exploit Ausar's absence to a point to where they can go off on you. That's the only team I can see that could maybe do that. Every one of these other teams are either flat out tanking, or flat out just horrific, or don't have their top best players. There is no way. If the Pistons, Honestly, I'd be more shocked if the Pistons didn't go on this 10-game win streak. I mean, that's how easy this next 2 weeks of this, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe, of the schedule. So 4-game losing streak, it was tough. They didn't play the greatest against the top competition. I mean, that's something we're going to have to talk about. And we have talked about, actually. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We know what happened. And when the playoffs roll around, if they struggle against some of those teams, I mean, maybe we can look back at this stretch against these top teams, and that's something we should have seen. But they're not playing top teams no more. They're not playing any of these top teams until the end of March against Minnesota, and then they play OKC after that. And then Minnesota again. So that 3-game stretch will be fun to watch and be fun to, get that data that I've talked about. That will be fun to see. But until then, the Pistons should beat every team until March 28th. Every single one of these games, the Detroit Pistons should be able to win even without Ausar Thompson. If they are as good as people think they are, as good as I think they are, and as good as a lot of the fans think they are, I mean, they should sweep. They should almost sweep March. Like, that's how easy the schedule looks. So, I don't know. And when I say sweep March, I mean from here on out. I know they already lost 2 games in March. But let me know. Do you guys agree, disagree with me that the Pistons should be able to go on a long win streak here after this game? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.